Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome to today's tour video for the Disney Save. You guys asked for it, and so here we are. I am touring Horn King's castle today from the Black Cauldron. This is my newest castle to be added to the Disney Save. It's massive. It's probably one of the biggest castles I've ever built, and it's creepy, old, medieval. It has a moat, it has a full basement level with tons of dungeons. There's quite a bit to show here. I'm going to do both first person mode and I'll give you like the overhead as well, because sometimes with the different levels and foundations and things, it can always be a little bit tough to keep the camera steady and show everything off accurately. I actually built this castle 3 times, so I'm really excited to have it be a finalized version that I am particularly happy with. And as you can see, even though it's like dark, spooky, creepy castle, it doesn't look crazy out of place in this world. The trees really do help, these trees. One thing that I think is a little bit strange, for some reason with The Sims 4 Life and Death, some of the plants that they use to build this world are not actually available in the debug and live added objects catalog. I don't think these trees are the case, but I did find that to be a little weird. Some of these rocks and some of the shrubbery, maybe not so much on this castle. But yeah, let's take a look at everything today. If you didn't see the speed build, I'm going to recommend that always, of course, first. And without further ado, let's get into it. So something that you guys really definitely didn't get to see very much of in the speed build video is a bit of the exterior. I did put some old headstones around the lot. These are from Cottage Living, I think, is what's pulling up here. Yeah, weirdly enough. They are so run down that you can't even see inscriptions on them, like very, very old and not taken care of, which is kind of the point, because Horn King's castle is a castle that was formerly owned by someone else. And over time, and probably under Horn King's rule, he has not taken great care of it, so a lot of it has fallen to ruin, and there are cracks in the floor, holes in the walls, trees that are like just dripping with old, like almost a dead tree, right? Trees that are fallen over, and in general, it looks like they just don't have a gardener or anybody who's taking like general care of the castle. And I did this moat. It's gross and brown and yucky. We'll go all the way down into it for a second, even though it is going to spoil a little bit of some of the downstairs levels. I usually do decorate water areas like this, and I could have done a pond, but to be honest with you, it would have been quite a challenge to do terrain manipulation on this lot, considering everything else I wanted to do. And in the movie, they do swim in the moat, even if it's only briefly. So even though it'll be a little bit annoying, and I am thinking about maybe doing something like Horned King does not like swimming, like maybe fear of swimming in his traits, to keep him out of the moat, because Sims tend to gravitate towards water in particular, but definitely pools. So let me know your thoughts on that, but I definitely felt like it was needed no matter what, and I like that you can color the water a little bit better if it's actually just a pool and you can put some stuff in it. If it's a pond, it's a little bit more tricky. I would be remiss not to mention the bridge here, which took me forever and was not a part of the speed build either, because it was a very long process to get this not only functional but somewhat accurate to the movie, with the arches that don't have any support systems under it. And obviously, as you can see here, if you look underneath, there is the platform, and that in another world, in another universe, would be arced up a little bit more. But it's okay. It doesn't really matter. It's functional. It gives the right idea. Sims walk across the platform underneath it. And that does mean that when you have the bottom floor open, so you can actually see into the bottom floor, you miss that top piece of the bridge that's like covering the pathway. But again, those are just little things. Like, I don't think anybody really cares about stuff like that. And I did include the idea of a drawbridge here. And obviously, if this were real, there would be something here, like a wooden door or some kind of wood that could be pulled up into the drawbridge. So it's not like a perfect replication of a drawbridge. Nobody called me on it, which was really nice. that I didn't like construct a perfectly accurate drawbridge, but the idea of it is here, and I wanted to play with the chains. These are from Snowy Escape. They're called rain chains, and I've never done this before, so I just thought it would be like a cute little nod and something that they actually kind of show in the film. So this is a really good opportunity to try the idea out. And with this bridge, there's nothing you can really do in terms of like putting the rest of the pieces there, but nonetheless. Okay, let's go. Oh, actually, before we go into it, I will... My mouse lets me zoom out. My mouse is a little broken. I apologize in advance for the slight bobbing because it's going to happen in the video. It's not the build, it's my mouse. Here it is in the evening. And here it is at night. Just a little bit of candle lighting, nothing crazy. This would be like an abandoned castle if not for Horned King and his henchmen taking it over or having taken it from the former king. So it's just not well kept up with. There's no lighting, there's no gardens, there's no pathways. Let's actually, now for real, enter the... Let's enter Horned King's castle. There are some little skellies in here, hidden in the door frame. Hopefully we're gonna be high enough for everything. Okay, let me adjust just a little bit. All right, I think that's a better angle. Oh, here we go. This is when you first walk in, you are in the dining hall or the main hall. One of the, or part of this is a movie recreation. There is a scene in the film where all of them are sitting in some kind of a great hall and they're all actively partying and drinking. And that's kind of what all these little bottles around are supposed to replicate. Also, the idea being that no one really cleans here. So this could be from several nights of having little parties in this room. It could just be one that's currently happening. It's a little bit of decoration that makes a lot of sense. The fireplace. I thought about how cold this castle would be because everything is stone and there are holes and the drafts that would cause. So almost every room has a fireplace. And there are lots of little offshoots as I like pan around here, so it's almost like which way do I even go, but we'll go to the right here. This door actually leads to that outside pathway that you guys saw when we were panning around. It's a little bit of an offshoot. You walk outside and the door has actually decided to delete itself here. Very unfortunate. But once I put the door back, this one on the left is a bedroom, and then this one right in front of me is also a bedroom. And these are supposed to be nicer henchman bedrooms. I didn't want to put the henchmen in the dungeons, obviously. They're all decorated like somewhat similar, but then the ones in the dungeon are just of far worse quality. And this one actually has a double bed, believe it or not. It's so hard to find decorative objects for a castle of this style. And even like hanging little frames and pictures and things like that on the wall, I only did it in bedrooms because I felt like those are the personal little touches of the Sims that actually live there. Like maybe pictures of their family members or whatever, if they even have any. But you'll notice there is a bit of a scarcity of like decorative objects, and that's obviously intentional. But a little bit of it is that we don't really have the packs for something like this. And it's hard to narrow it down. So those are just 2 bedrooms for some of the henchmen that you saw me create. I haven't picked out where everyone is sleeping yet, except for the one that I am calling the owner of the dog. His room is in the basement, which we will be seeing later. Now, if you go to the left, when you enter this room, this is the kitchen. And cute. Right? Like, almost too cute, a little too nice. But kitchens are really tough for these old medieval builds, especially. Like, I need very specific objects. I still think that, all in all, it fits the theming. It's got a lot of the appropriate items. It's got, like, necessities, cooking, little pots and pans, some herbs, nothing crazy. And there is actually, off of this room, a small dining room with more sort of in the middle of a get-together drink fest of some kind. Just a little dining area so you don't have to go out into the main dining hall. I do this a lot in the form of like the servants' dining room is typically going to be different than the main kings and queens dining room. So that's kind of what this is. But in this instance, it's a little bit different because I don't foresee Horn King like coming out into the main dining hall ever anyway. So I feel like everybody here who is a henchman or servant would just eat in here anyway. But it was a use of the space that made sense. And then as we pass through towards this door, you can imagine what is behind there if you haven't already seen it in some of the overviews. But we'll actually go to the right real quick, just to this little offshoot. This is just a tiny little sitting room, fireplace, little windows that you can look out of. Some place that you can come into and tuck into for slightly more privacy, a little bit more warmth maybe. More stuff for the henchmen, essentially. And to the left is our outdoor space that you did see on the pan around. The way that this space differs just a little bit in comparison to the Great Hall is that this one has a bar. So this is very much directly an outdoor space meant for partying. And I designed a lot of this with the henchmen in mind. Like, I think that sometimes when I describe some of these rooms, you're going to be like, why does Horn King party so much? He doesn't. But his henchmen seem a bit unruly, and they seem like when he's out of the castle, they don't have a lot of skills or activities. They're not sitting around reading. They are not gardening. They are probably just a lot of men that like to sit around and drink. Anywho, through the big door, you can imagine we have the throne room. And the reason that I like this is because you could technically, like, in your brain, because this isn't how The Sims works, but you could open this door and then it would open into the Great Hall and it would make this whole space feel together. And so the Horned King could sit in this room and rule from the throne and still have access to everyone in the Great Hall, but he can also close it off. And so the throne is pieced together by tons of stuff, some rocks from Jungle Adventure. These rocks that I've used all over the build, unfortunately, come from the new event that The Sims did, the outdoor event. I don't know what it is called. I say unfortunate because if you didn't participate in the event, the items are not going to pop up for you. But I have a feeling The Sims will put them in base game at some point because they're just so useful and classic, and it's really one of those things that I'm like, why wouldn't you put it in base game? So I've used them all over this build, and unfortunately, if you didn't do the event, that is going to be a bummer. So I was a little bit hesitant to do it, but I can't always like think about it that way and like make lists in my head of things that I can and can't use. It's a lot. So there's your warning. And we have some people hanging out with Horn King. We got one guy over here. We got a couple guys over here. They've now become decorative at this point. You can imagine what they were before that. And like I said, nobody cleans here. So why would they be gone? They're just going to stay in perpetuity. And there is a small bump out room here behind the throne. And I thought of this as one of Horned King's bedrooms. Maybe this is the one that he retires to occasionally. This is one that he uses sometimes if he wants to be on this level of the castle. It's just one of his like optional bedrooms. And out of the characters that do live here, I did think that perhaps he has read a book or two, only because he's looking for the cauldron. So he would have to read history books and random sources, whatever he could get his hands on, to try to get some information about possibly where it is. So I could imagine him going through like magical books. And he is a very low level spellcaster. So to move along, we are going to go to the basement last, but when you're on this floor, you access the basement from behind the fireplace, as you can see down there. And these set of stairs on this floor is going to bring us up to some of the towers and things and additional bedrooms. So let's go ahead up there. Okay. I don't know how you do the up the stairs thing. So it's a little jarring, but there's the bottom of the stairs. Very tight quarters, but for a castle this old, you would definitely see something like that. So not crazy. You come up, little bit of walkways in here. This larger door on the right is going to lead us to more Horned King stuff. So we'll look at that in a second. This door, archway, leads to some of the upstairs floors. But if you keep going this way, this sector of the castle, I'm gonna call tradesmen, the tradesmen section of the castle formerly. This would have been an area where some of the castle staff used to congregate, kind of their living room or central areas. And what I did is I imagined what kinds of characters and kinds of people the former king would have employed at this type of a castle. And then I decorated some spaces up here regarding those types of trades. So in this one is the castle magician's former workspace. So as you can see, there are some remnants of what used to be. Like, it's not, nobody's been in here in a while. There's some dirt on the floor. There are cobwebs. There are armoires and shelving and things like that, but there's nothing really remaining on them. No potions, no ingredients, no bottles, but you can tell what it used to be. And the apothecary table is in here. So if you wanted something to do on this lot, it is accessible to you, but it's not like the active intent of the space any longer. Through this archway, this is like the woodworker's shop, but it's also just another like central area for a lot of these tradesmen to work and hoard materials and coexist together. So you can see the woodworking table is here. And again, this would be an accessible one. So this is my way of putting some hobbies and some objects in here that give you some more activities to do, but you don't have to participate in them if you don't want to, because it's not really the point of the household. Through this door over here, this one is the blacksmith. I love using this grill. I think it's from For Rent, because to me, there's something like rustic enough about it that I feel like it can pass as some kind of blacksmithing type device, even if it leans more in the modern direction. It's my way of like representing that idea. I've used it in the past. And the welder's mask, which clearly something that we have nowadays, but they must have had some variation of something like that back then, just to protect yourself, like if not gloves, if not something like that. And there are some old swords and things in here. There is what probably used to be the blacksmith's actual forge. There are some water pails, just the bits of it. There's cobwebs though, like no one's been in here in a while. They don't really use this. And there is a bathroom, because you're going to need bathrooms in a castle of this size, but this is probably a bathroom in the castle that they don't really use that often. There was another bathroom downstairs, by the way, that I think I skipped. We'll look at it in a little bit. And the wall is breaking and crumbling and cracking, and nothing is in good condition here in the castle anymore. So you can see into their former bedroom, but technically if it was in better condition, you would have entered it over here. And then because I built 3 spaces for 3 different tradesmen, or possibly more, I put bunk beds in here thinking that this is where they would all kind of sleep, and some chests and things. And it's all here for playability. A little bit of set dressing, perhaps a fixer-upper, whatever you would like, really. Back out to the hallway that we just entered through this big door is going to take you outside for a second, because if you zoom out, you'll see that we're on the 2nd level of the castle, and this big round bump out at the back that's above the throne room is actually Horn King's bedroom. This is what I intend to be his main room, although it's not much different than the one downstairs, except for a slightly color variant, like color palette variant. And I will show this floor. So here's the downstairs that I was just on, with the great hall here in the middle, the throne room off to the back. This is the outdoor courtyard, is the word I keep forgetting, and is really what it's intended to be. This is one of the bathrooms. This door and this door keep deleting, but for the final version that goes into the save file, I will make sure that the door is there. It's unfortunately the pool that's causing the door situation. The bedroom's off to the side. And the kitchen and dining. Then if we go up 1 floor, here's the overview of what we were just taking a look at. Bathroom, blacksmithing room, workshop and woodworker space, general tradesman room, bedroom in the corner, the former magician's room, and Horn King's main bedroom. As you can see, located in the center point of this space are the stairs that are going to get us up to the next floor through that archway that I pointed out earlier. So we will jump up there. This space is very small and is going to be a little bit difficult to show. It's just towers at this point at the tippy top. And I thought of these as lookout spaces and areas where henchmen might hide from Horn King, come up and play some cards, maybe rest, maybe they are stationed here at different times of the day to walk and monitor this space and look out over the castle walls. So there's a bed up here. There's things to do. There's like a little gambling table. There's a bar, some activities for them. And this is actually the door that gets you out onto this walkway. And I'll actually go back out again because I think spaces like this, unfortunately, are a little hard to see because of their size and like all the columns and things. But this is just the top of the castle towers. And then there is one more floor above it that these stairs that wrap around go up to. And I just decorated this as more lookout spaces. Another additional bedroom if you really wanted it. Like, you could kind of like put somebody up here, like lock somebody in the tower if you wanted. Now, moving down, it's almost impossible to get a first-person view of basement levels, unfortunately. So you're going to have to bear with me, but we're going to just go and do like a little overhead tour. Those stairs that are located behind the fireplace in the Great Hall lead to our dungeon and cauldron room. So this is the room in the movie that the Black Cauldron is actually brought into when the Horn King actually gets his hands on it, and he throws his spare, how do I put this like nicely, corpses into the cauldron and brings them all back from the dead and resurrects his army. And Taryn and all the characters are chained up against the wall in the same space watching it happen. That is this room. Glowy and green and yucky creepy. And also like in the general vicinity of the dungeon area. The dungeon rooms are through these archways over this way. This little area here is where someone should be keeping guard on most of these dungeon bedroom spaces. Fireplace, little drinking area, and general things that you could expect for that space that's right outside of dungeons where someone tends to sit with a set of keys or a guard dog. That is what this is supposed to represent. And then we have 3 bedrooms. This one on the left here is only a little bit nicer and different because it's technically Alonwi's room. She has a water trough. So I said in the speed build that she has access to fresh water, and she has some marbles in like a little marble jar and a slightly different colored bed. And over here could be anyone's room. All of the dungeon bedrooms are decorated very similarly. Actually, this is not supposed to be here. Werewolf's bed, one single toilet, maybe some remnants of people from the past. This one is actually connected through this other dungeon bedroom for whatever reason. Same sort of idea. And there is one additional one over here that's outside of that central area of where people would be keeping guard, but it's like close enough that I felt like it was okay. So there you have those. Through this doorway over here. Oh, we do get the first person view. There we go. Sometimes it's hard to like get in there. I think it's the stairs a little bit, but we'll go in through this door. This is like a second Great Hall. I wanted a space that was like the Great Hall, but also had the throne room directly attached, kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, where Horn King might open the doors to his throne room. This creates more of that idea down there for him. Maybe it's for hosting, maybe it's for larger parties or celebrations of some kind. Something where he can directly come back on this throne and be present while everybody's in here, like, partying. Little bar in here. In a nicer castle, this would be like a ballroom. Or maybe something like it. Maybe not in the basement levels, right? But... And if we start to head this way, a lot of what's going to be on this side is a little bit of activities and a little bit of storage and set dressing. So, first of all, in this hallway, before you enter any of the spaces in here, I made the dartboard, aka archery boards, which all of you were very funny in the comments because I had mentioned, oh, we don't have archery in The Sims 4. And then literally within 24 hours ish of me releasing that video, they announced that the new pack is going to have real official archery. So at some point, of course, I will come back in here and update that to the best of my ability, but I'm going to be keeping this for now because, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm grabbing that pack right away, but I'll talk about that in future videos. This room with the larger door. So in the film, Taryn steals a sword from the king's coffin, kind of. I believe it's a coffin. It might be like slightly open, or it's glowing, or it's like in the same area. I don't remember exactly, but this is the space. So I put some flags in here of like maybe what the former king's flags looked like. They don't show this kind of stuff, but that's kind of like the mindset behind some of the choices. And if you search crown in the build and buy catalog, this is one of the only objects that comes up. So I was like, why not? It's like a helmet, it's giving knight, whatever, we'll use it. It's a crown, I guess. And that is the actual sword, we will say, that Taryn is meant to take so that it can be there for set dressing. I was thinking about locking this door just to make it super difficult to get in there, since it's located a little bit more centrally than it's meant to be according to the movie, but that's okay. This way is some storage. This is what I call the wine cellar, or I don't know, keg storage, beer storage, cider storage, whatever they drink or used to drink. Grog storage. And you can expect that they would have some kind of pantry storage, especially since the upstairs didn't really show anything in terms of ingredients and food and stuff like that. You would expect them to have that somewhere in the castle, but I didn't want the kitchen to look so nice, so I thought, let's put some of it like tucked away downstairs. Rice, grains, onions, fresh fruit, plants, things like that. Little bit more decorative. Going the other direction down the hall past my archery station here, there is actually on the right side, this little door before we enter the last space in the castle, is one more bathroom. So I think in total there's 3, maybe 4. Well, there's 3 official bathrooms, but if you count the toilet in every single one of the dungeon rooms, that's like 8 toilets. That's like 8 bathrooms. So there you go. This space is what I think the guard dog henchman's room is. Like, he sleeps down here, he lives down here, he tends to this area of the castle, he's in charge of the dungeon. And this room off the back, oh sorry, wrong, I don't even know what I'm doing, this room is his bedroom. So it's a little nicer than like definitely the dungeon bedrooms. It's more reminiscent of the ones that were upstairs in this same area of the castle, but directly below it. And I spoiled it already, but through this door, this is essentially the castle treasury, which all the more reason why somebody would be sleeping like right next to it to keep watch. But in the movie, Horn King is throwing all of the cauldrons that they think are the Black Cauldron and all of the junk and all of the corpses that he's collecting for the potential of getting the Black Cauldron into a room. And you can see that Creeper is like hauling all of that into a room full of this. So this is all of that. This is like essentially their treasury. I did something very similar over in my Agrabah Palace. So it's like a same idea, but different purpose a little bit. Like what is considered treasure in this instance is slightly different. And I will give the overhead. This is the main cauldron room, my archery room, the second great hall and throne room, the keeper's space for the dungeon, the 4 dungeon bedrooms over this way. This is the king's burial room, the pantry and cellar, and additional bathroom, additional bedroom, and treasury. Really like kind of massive. Like this kind of puts it in perspective for you guys what we got going on here. Also, side note, Sims, this is crazy. This is not my doing. I didn't like forget a wall here. It deletes the wall on this side if you do stairs this tall. I think that's like a coding mishap. I don't know, whatever. And that is Horned King's Castle. I hope you guys love it. I absolutely love it. I think it turned out way better than I had pictured in my head. It's much better than the version that I made many, many years ago. And if you stayed this late in the video, as a little treat, I will show you the backside of the next build that you guys can expect to be seeing. If you look over into the town there, Terran's cottage is well underway by the time that I am recording this. And after that, and a little bit more creative sim, I'm going to be moving on to a different neighborhood that is, according to the map, over in this direction, and it is going to be Snow White. So after Black Cauldron, I'll immediately move into some Snow White stuff. So that means there will be more castles coming soon and more castle tour videos. If you'd like to see that, make sure you stick around for more. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you'd like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching today, and I will talk to you all in the next one.